Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this presentation. Today's session is going to be Growth Opportunities 2013 and Beyond. This presentation is going to be presented by myself, Adam Harris, and my colleague, Steve Potts. Just want to give you a little bit of indication as to who Transmentum are. Transmentum are a Kaseya industry expert. In fact, Transmentum are the only company in Europe at the moment which are an industry expert. A Kaseya industry expert is an organisation which has been approved and supported by Kaseya to help their reseller channel and any company that is using the Kaseya products in a variety of different ways. Transmentum has been in existence for now a couple of years, and we help IT companies that are looking to grow, and we do this from a number of different interventions, and there'll be a chance to kind of have a look at our website a little bit later on. This session is being recorded, and if there are any questions, please put them in the Q&A box down at the right hand side, and when we get to the end of the presentation, we'll ensure that any questions that do come in we'll cover. Transmentum are an independent company. Today's session is about the introduction of several disruptive technologies that are coming around all at the same time. I think we've noticed over the last few years that things have been coming. You know, you talk about bring your own device, you talk about iPads, etc., and things have been moving in quite a lot. You can see on the slide that we've been presenting at many events across the world. The information we're about to share has been collected and collated from a number of sources, not just Gartner and other market research. Over the last 2 years, we have engaged the senior players from many of the global software and hardware vendors. Transmentum are proud to say that we are vendor independent, and whilst we work closely with Kaseya and Autotask and many others, the independence is vital for us moving forward. We also have many clients who have identified how to capitalise on these new opportunities and experience rapid growth and where the threats and the opportunities are coming from. During this webinar, we will share some of those insights with you, highlighting actions that are mission critical for growth. In our experience, companies either grow or die. Even lifestyle businesses must change and adapt. There is currently more change both technologically and economically in our industry and that there has ever been. Please remember that change always brings opportunity. As I said earlier, we are an industry expert, and because of that industry expert, you can see the picture here of Las Vegas. Transmentum will be presenting at Kaseya Connect 2013, and if anybody does want to know anything about it, I'm sure that Wing will send you details after this webinar. I'm now going to hand over to Steve, who will carry on.
Good morning, everybody. I want to talk about disruptive technology, cloud computing, mobile computing, managed services, and the impact and opportunity that we have from the changes that are taking place all around us. And there are also social and economical changes that we can take advantage of. When Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, it took 70 years to get to 1 million users. When I was a young man, Marconi launched the mobile phone, and it took 7 years in those days to get to 1 million users. These days, new products are being launched all the time, and it can take anything from 7 minutes to 7 weeks to get your message across to 1 million users. Things are changing faster and faster and faster. In fact, the progress is getting logarithmic. Both of those innovations were disruptive technology. They changed completely the paradigm of the way people do business. Most of us can't imagine today what it's like running a business without a mobile phone. Well, I can tell you in my early days, I had to stop at a coin box and phone the office if I wanted to communicate back with my business. So let's look at the technology changes that we all face. 4G, for example, will deliver more bandwidth to vehicles than is currently available in many homes and offices. What does this mean to those businesses that install infrastructure? Cables, servers, hardware. They will still have a business model, but the size of that market will be greatly reduced. 4G will give more connectivity to more devices in more locations, and we won't be tied to the desk anymore. I was over in the States recently, and I picked my car up. I'm speaking to you at the moment on a Virgin Media fiber optic cable, and the car I picked up from the airport in Phoenix, Arizona had more bandwidth than I've got here. It was quite phenomenal. Here at Transmentum, we've been trading for the last 2 years totally in the cloud, and we have no plans at present to purchase any IT infrastructure. There are 4 or 5 of us in this business, and that would have been unthinkable even a couple of years ago. Something else I'd like you all to think about. My son helps run the IT department for a very large educational establishment. 6 months ago, the management team, the governors, banned iPads for security purposes. Last week, that same team instructed him to purchase 300 iPads. They had recognised 2 things. The benefits of the tablet devices far outweighed the perceived risk. And if they didn't embrace this technology, they would be left behind. Interestingly, with the news this week, that's 300 devices that Mr. Dell won't be providing. If your business was built on providing hardware, not only is it becoming a very low margin commodity, but the market for hardware is shrinking. Think about the impact virtual servers had on server sales. Now you sell 1 box where you would have sold 3 pieces of hardware in the past. My son's organisation doesn't have the kind of budget that it's got for headcount that it had a couple of years ago. 2 technicians have left in the last 12 months. They have not been replaced. Instead, the organisation have gone to managed services and outsourced a lot of the network management, leaving the staff that are left more time for hands-on duties, looking after the physical elements of the network and supporting the staff with IT know-how. And on top of all this technology, there are two more fundamental changes taking place. One of them is a social one. I want to do it my way. One of the reasons this school bowed to having iPads in the organisation was because of the demand from the staff and the pupils. The days of the IT director as a gatekeeper is over. Yes, security is even more important than ever before. However, the major software vendors are already looking to provide totally outsourced solutions for all client devices. As you're probably aware, Kaseya are leading the field in this area. The global financial crisis is also influencing the way people view ownership. Later in this webinar, we will take a further look at this. Now, I'm not suggesting that these new technologies will replace 100% the existing technologies. What I am saying is that we are in a period of monumental change. Walk down the high street and look at the empty retail premises. A large enough proportion of customers now trust sales online to change their buying habits. What I'm flagging to you all is that this is also happening in our world of traditional break-fix IT resellers. All this means there is great opportunity for those who have the wherewithal to move away from break-fix and move into a more consultative, outsourced model for service provision. Can you and your team afford to take the risk of doing nothing? These opportunities and challenge often bring us down unexpected roads. Which road should we take? How are we going to get there? What is the risk versus the reward? There is actually at the moment a global shortfall of skill in both sales and engineering in the IT sector. We need to focus on the right people. Our recruitment, training, education, communication and motivation with our teams is even more important now than it ever was before. We need to find them, we need to train them, and then we need to lock them in so that they don't leave. Some industry commentators believe that the EU has a shortfall of skilled IT trained people to the tune of 100,000 places. The challenge is not just about who we employ, but which skills are they up to speed with, and which skill sets will our potential customer and our clients require. I'm going to quote a guy I met last year, Rex Frank, President of C-Level Operations over in the US. He said, "We are perceived by our customers to be the responsible IT advisor. The new technologies doesn't change this fact." Indeed, our prospective clients and customers are looking for more guidance than ever before. Not only is your audience faced with a plethora of new technology, but also this technology is fundamentally changing the way we do business. Look at what's happened in the high street, as I said before. The smart IT businesses have recognised the opportunity all this upheaval creates. So where do we start? Some good advice comes from our dear friend Paul Tomlinson, who we're always quoting from Maris IT. He stood up a couple of months ago and said, "Have a plan and stick to it. Set targets and achieve them. Reinvest in service development. Invest in technical staff and customer skills, and they truly are words of wisdom. He's had a great deal of success exploiting this new marketplace. So let's have a look in more detail at how we can do this. I'm going to look at three things. First of all, I'd like to talk about you, the business owner. Do you get out and about enough? Are your suppliers also your partners in this new world? Do you take your team with you? I'm going to quote Len Costanzo, who's Vice President of Community at Autotask. He says, "Stay educated, stay learning. It's the biggest investment you can make in your business." And I totally agree with him. It's very important in these times that we are continually learning, and that's true of us here at Transmentum as well. So I've got some questions I'm going to ask you all. I'd like you to answer them honestly. How much time are you investing per month in learning about these ever-changing, rapidly evolving new technologies? How much time do you spend managing detail? And how much time do you spend on developing the strategic direction of your business? Last year here at Transmentum, we invested in 2 trips to a couple of major IT events in the US. This year we're off to Kaseya Connect. I can confidently say that the value we got from those trips was worth 10 times the cost of the air flights. We met potential partners, suppliers, clients, and gained an enormous amount of first-hand insight into the changes taking place in our industry. Another thing that we established, we were able to we were able to prove to ourselves that our ideas and our strategy going forward are going in the right direction. So how much time do you spend working in the business, and how much time do you spend working on the business? If you have no choice but to work in the business, you are a single point of failure. Train up a deputy. Each of your managers should also be thinking about who their right-hand person is going to be in the future. Is your leadership style built around coaching and delegation? Are you encouraging people to follow you, or are you just telling them what to do? Can you take a proper holiday, turn off your phone and check your emails once a day in the knowledge that your team will handle emergencies in your absence? One of the biggest inhibitors to growth within technology companies is resistance to change, specifically inside technical teams. How are you managing resistance to change within your technical team? Be very careful how you answer this question. This resistance is often hidden underground and not articulated, and is often based on fear of change. Take your team with you. What is happening and why? Communicate with them. How well do you understand your customer profiles? Do you know the average size in turnover of a number of employees inside your customer base? Your technical team will have access to this valuable marketing information. Some SMEs are more likely to embrace the new technology than others. Do you know what they look like and who they are? Will your technical team be able to feed this information to you? Are your marketing campaigns targeting the right size and types of businesses? How effective are you building closer relationships with all of your key vendor partners? Do you engage your competitors? I've got a couple of stories for you. One of our clients had a very small competitor, a 3-man company, almost in the same county as them. But because they were a very small 3-man company, they couldn't embrace the Kaseya and Autotask technology. So this particular IT reseller outsourced that to his competitor, and now he's actually bought the competitor and taken them over. So competitors can be an opportunity as well as a threat. Another client of mine is based in Wales, and he was alarmed when a shop opened up in his local town selling Apple computers. I suggested, and now they've formed an alliance because their skill is in retail and his skill is in networking. So food for thought. Let's now look at your business strategy. Do the right people know where you are going? Do you know where you're going? Do your team know where you're going? Do your suppliers know where you're going? Do your customers know where you're going? Mark Cattini, the CEO of Autotask, was asked how he controlled his research and development roadmap for future, and he said simply, "We make all of our decisions, and specifically our development roadmap plans, based on facts, not emotion, gut feeling, or the views of those that shout the loudest. A well-thought-out business strategy follows that advice very closely." There are three components of a strategy. One is your vision. Bill Gates' vision was to have software on every desktop in the world. That was a clear vision he had right from the days when he was at college. Your vision doesn't have to be as grand as that. It may simply to be the first choice provider in your county or your city. But you need to have that vision. You need to declare it in your building, on the wall, on your website, and make sure all your staff know where you're going. Your mission is how you achieve that vision. It's the things you do, the things that you provide to clients. That's what your mission is about. And one of the most important things you need to consider are your values. We had a client who employed a salesperson, and in his recruitment process, there was no discovery of what that individual's values were. When the salesman joined the organisation, the first thing he did alarmed our client because he started to berate his suppliers, who our client had spent many years turning into valuable partners. So it's important when you recruit people that you share your values with them. If you don't write those values down, you won't be able to do that. One of our clients took his management team off-site to agree what their vision, mission and values were. And this is what he had to say a couple of months ago. He said, "We brought the management team together to put together a strategic plan for growth. 9 months later, when we came to reviewing the plan, there wasn't a single thing we needed to change. I cannot stress enough the importance of that document to the growth of my business. I think that putting that plan together was possibly the most important investment in time I have made in 20 years of running a business." Food for thought. Are you truly embracing convergence of cloud, voice, mobile devices, managed print, managed service and software as a service? Have you discussed these technologies with your team? What are your plans to educate, communicate and motivate your technical teams? What are you doing to ensure that you become the customer's trusted advisor? Are you communicating with your customers? Do they think of you when they want to buy an iPad? Or do they go online and buy it from Amazon or Vodafone? How do you use the reports from your remote monitoring to upsell and cross-sell other projects, technologies and services to those customers? Are you using APIs to develop unique offerings for your vertical markets? For example, take two technologies and create something unique. We have a client who's taken some voice over IP products and converged them with some cloud backup services and is offering a very unique offering to a particular sector of the market and is having a lot of success through doing that. What plans do you have to partner with others? Telecom resellers, for example. Maybe there's some synergy there between the company down the road that are selling communications. Your help desk is also a key entry point for your customers into your business. What is your strategy for your help desk? Who owns your help desk in terms of the values, goals and objectives? Do the help desk team know how to recognize new sales opportunities? Are the help desk team incentivized to do so? Do your sales manager and help desk manager meet regularly and share common goals? How do you use your remote management tools to generate new sales opportunities? These are all things that need to be embedded into your strategy. And here is the biggest question of all. How do you feel about your sales team? Do you have one? Can you manage without one? Where will growth come from? 2 years ago, I was told by the managing director of a very successful IT services company that he didn't like salespeople and would never employ any. He now has 9 and is well on the way to tripling his turnover, and he has maintained his profitability at the same time. Can you afford not to invest in a sales team during these times of opportunity? Not only is it important to employ the right people, you need to empower them. To quote Bob Davis, Chief Marketing Officer at Kaseya, he said in London last year, in response to a question from the audience about how Kaseya had been so successful worldwide, he said, simply, "We put a lot of effort into finding and recruiting the right people. We then stand aside and let them get on with it." Again, words of wisdom. So we've looked at your business strategy. What is in the mind of the customer? Where do I find a trusted advisor in these days? What is this cloud thing that they're all talking about? And later on in this slide, I'll talk about prudence. The recent economic climate, coupled with the rapidly evolving technology of cloud, MSP, mobile devices, is driving many changes. There's resistance within both SME and public sector markets to spending on IT CapEx, together with massively increasing expenditure across the globe on IT OpEx. The banks aren't lending money. There isn't money for capital investment anymore. Josh Lowry is an executive sales marketing services leader at Second Watch, one of the top 15 premier consulting partners in the world for Amazon Web Services. He says, according to Gartner, while 52% of IT directors report to FDs, 75% of financial directors are actively involved in making IT decisions for their companies. Successful selling then requires an understanding of how the FDs think about making business and financial decisions. A combination of cloud computing, cutbacks in spending is accelerating the need based on the shift from capital expense to operating expense. Capital expenses at CapEx are for assets with a useful life of greater than 1 year. Operating expenses are incurred in the ordinary course of running a business on a monthly or a yearly basis. Something to seriously consider when you're approaching new clients. Here at Transmentum, we don't own our iPads. We rent them monthly. Why? Because when we upgrade them, we can then upgrade them as the technology moves on. This change has also been highlighted by a quote from Gerald Blackie, who's the chairman and CEO of Kaseya. He says, it's a global shift. The drivers are the significant profit improvements for the service provider and much greater end customer satisfaction from the services offered. The last thing I want to talk about on this slide is prudence, or in Latin it's prudentia, which is contracted from providentia, seeking ahead. It's defined in the dictionary as the ability to govern and discipline oneself by the use of reason. Let's use reason for a moment. We don't own our photocopier any longer. We don't own our company cars. Many of us don't own the building we're sitting in today. So why do we need to own IT infrastructure? So are your sales team aware of this change? Are their sales presentations tuned into this change? What is your strategy to ensure that your business model reflects and exploits this change? Do you have a healthy balance between horizontal and vertical markets? If you don't have a couple of chosen vertical markets, what are your plans to develop a couple? Because there lies great opportunity in the current climate. How do your sales team demonstrate and prove return on investment to your prospects? That's one aspect of selling that's becoming more and more important in these financial times. The market leaders in the US have left behind the notion of making margin from supplying hardware and services and have moved their business models to a more consultative and trusted advisor role. Have you trained, deployed and equipped your sales team to succeed in today's market? Just want to talk for a minute about the way as an industry we communicate with prospects. There are so many acronyms out there. Here is a new one for you. Acronyms ruin sales every day. When you come off this webinar, go and have a look at the material that your sales people put out in front of those financial directors who are not technical people, and strike out as many acronyms as you can and put the language into business language that the financial director will understand. Because remember, 75% of them will be involved in deciding whether they buy your product or not. Let's talk for a minute specifically about managed services and your operations team. I'm going to talk about the King Canute syndrome, the fear of change, or they may simply not understand. We regularly meet business owners who are disappointed that their deployment of their new technology is taking too long and that they don't really understand why it is. Many deployments of Kaseya and Autotask seem to take a long time to get through to the help desk. The current changes in technology are, as I've said many times in this presentation, deemed to be disruptive. Many vendors believe that 20 to 40% of current traditional IT resellers may go out of business within the next 2 years if they don't realign and adopt these new technologies. I shared that quote with somebody last night who said, "Oh, well, the vendors are very good at fear selling." Walk down the high street. Was that fear selling? It's happening. Change is happening all the time. Many of the vendors are predicting that the current spend on outsourced IT services will rise globally from the current figure of 22 billion to 41 billion by 2015. That means it's going to double in the next 2 years. Now there is an opportunity for all of us. In Europe, recurring revenue based on managed service provision is the fastest growing part of the IT sector. Gartner predict that by 2015, 35% of all SME IT spend will be outsourced. If you are dependent on traditional break-fix, that means that your target market will shrink by 35%. The complexity of solutions is going up. Mobile devices, bring your own devices, cloud, managed services, voice over IP, all create new opportunity for those willing to adopt quickly. Vendors are focusing their investment on resellers that meet the following criteria. They're looking for resellers that are run by innovative, forward-thinking leaders. People who are willing to change their business models, willing to learn, willing to think out of the box. Are you one of those? Are you investing in your technical teams? Do you hold regular meetings with them? Do you educate, communicate, and motivate them? If you don't, you may have a team that doesn't believe the tide is coming in. They may be frightened of what they don't understand, or simply they may fear change. Being technical people who are driven by academic qualifications and their status, the last thing they're going to do is admit they don't understand something. So you need to create an environment where they feel free to speak and put their view forward. Are you going to sustain and grow your business through these times? And a final thought from me about how you approach the challenges presented by these new technologies and financial climates. Those of you who've been watching the news will see that they found Richard III buried in a car park in Leicester. The archaeologists who discovered the remains are debating what happens next. Kings of England are always buried in Westminster. Nottingham Castle was actually the capital of Richard's kingdom, and we here in Nottingham believe that's where he should be buried. But then again, he was the Duke of York, and they put a claim on his body. However, after consulting with a number of specialist historians, they discovered that church law decrees that an exhumed body that can't be reinterred in the same ground must be buried in the nearest consecrated ground. So Richard will not be welcoming American tourists in London or competing with Robin Hood here in Nottingham. He'll be staying in Leicester because Leicester Cathedral is just 2 miles from the car park where they found him, and that's where church law dictates that he should be buried. What's the point of this? Well, things are not always what they seem. Don't assume. Consult with others. Don't take our word for these changes. Get a second opinion. Get out there and meet other people. And please remember, when you've decided what your next steps are, Transmentum is here to help you shorten the learning curve and get there quicker. And with that, I'm going to hand back to my colleague, Adam.
So I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about stakeholders within your business. They're the future partners, your customers, suppliers and staff. It's very important to understand about who these people are and what they're going to mean to your business. You need to kind of take a step back, and I call it the helicopter approach. Imagine that you're circling above your business. Kind of think about some of these questions. Where's your business going? Do you have a strategy? And when I talk about having a strategy, it's quite clear that if we know where we're going, the journey becomes quite a lot easier. If any of you are getting in the car this afternoon and you're going to see a client or a customer, you know exactly where you're going. You've got the address, you've got the postcode. You've either been there before so you know how to get there, or you put it into the sat nav and it'll tell you how to get there. So instead of going blind, you're following a path and you're following a journey. If along the way you hit an accident or some roadworks, you can divert into a different path to ensure that you get to that same end place, your goal, your objective. So where is the place that you're heading as a business? If you haven't looked at this with regards to your business, I strongly recommend that as business owners and directors and shareholders of the business, to kind of sit down and understand where you are going as a business. Do you need some help? You know, a lot of the times as business owners, directors of business, we think that we've got all the answers. As Steve said earlier, if you don't know what you're doing, then ask the questions, speak to other people within the sector, shorten that learning curve. Don't think that you can do it all yourself. Remember, you know, unless you're an early adopter, 95% of people have been in your situation before. They know the things that you're going through. They can shorten that learning curve and they can help you get to where you want to get to as quickly as possible. Consultancy on sales and marketing. You know, do you need interim support? Is it the case? Don't just think dynamically about, well, I can, you know, I've got to get a round peg in a round hole. Think a little bit more objectively. What are the options? You know, there's various different degrees of things that you can do from a short-term perspective. You don't necessarily always have to take people on in a full-time capacity. You can pull in external consultants. You can work with partners. As Steve mentioned earlier, looking at working with competitors. These things will allow you to be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more dynamic, and being a little bit more creative in against your competition, doing something that other people are not doing currently. Do you have within your business kind of a coaching culture? Is it the case that you're dictatorship, or are you doing you know, are you looking at coaching? A quote from the CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, on coaching. Over the years, I have had so many different kinds of advice. I really do not know where to start. One that came to mind is to have a coach. Our board member in 2002, John Doerr, said, "You need to coach." And I said, "Well, I don't need a coach. I'm an established CEO. Why would I need a coach? Is there something wrong?" He said. No, you don't need a coach. Everybody's a coach. So Bill Campbell became my coach for the served me well for many, many years. Every famous athlete, every performer has somebody who is their coach. Somebody who can watch what they are doing and say, "Is that what you really meant? Did you really mean to do that?" Then they can give a different perspective. One thing that people are never good at is seeing themselves as others see them. Have a coach, it really helps. What this is about is giving you the opportunity to have somebody to shine that mirror in front of you. As a business leader, as a business owner, a lot of the times you don't have the opportunity to see what other people are seeing and actioning on you. So having somebody or a number of people to kind of bounce ideas off, to give you those honest criticisms, will allow you to be strengthened and being able to move forward. Help is at hand. Here at Transmentum, we work with a number of clients in a number of different ways. We will follow up and send you through a white paper, which is kind of a follow-on from this presentation. Steve, if you want to go to the next slide, we have had some questions come through. You can see our web address here, so please feel free to kind of have a look on there. If anybody still does have any questions, please type them in the box on the right-hand side, but I'm just going to go through the ones, Steve, that we've had through, and then maybe you and I can answer them. So we've had a question come in which says, what if I don't change?
Okay. If you don't change, fine. Be prepared for the market that you address to get smaller. You may still be happy, you may still be able to pursue your business goals in that market, but it will be harder to make sales. There'll be fewer people to sell to, because many of your competitors will be coming after your customers and offering those cloud services, that disruptive technology that you don't have. So if you don't embrace these changes and you don't buy into the managed services model, you will be exposing your client base to risk.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Another question we've had come through is, as a reseller, I struggle with time. What should I be focusing on? I'll take this one. I think the first thing that I would be saying is, why are you struggling with time? I think understanding the point of which, if you are busy and you haven't got the time to be, as Steve mentioned earlier, working on the business instead of in it, there's obviously an issue to do with some level of time. So it's probably a case of trying to find a way of addressing and understanding why time is an issue. I think once you have worked out what your issue is with time, is then to kind of sit down and look at the goal. What do you want from the business? Where do you want to go? Where are you heading? And then kind of work from there. Anything to add on that, Steve?
No, I agree totally.
Okay. Next question. How can I leverage Kaseya to help me embrace these opportunities? I think that what you probably need to do is you probably need to be speaking to your account manager. So if you haven't or you don't know who your account manager is within Kaseya, please feel free to kind of drop somebody at Kaseya some details. Kaseya are often put on webinars like this, so the fact that you're on a webinar is the fact that you are looking to kind of move forward. They also run a number of different events throughout the year, and I think it's also worthwhile looking at joining the online community as well. I remember when I was running my reseller business and I was a Kaseya customer, I was frequently, as the business owner, but also my engineering staff, were all on Kaseya platform, looking at the community, speaking to and understanding from other people that were in a similar situations, what are they doing? Again, it kind of comes back to what I was saying earlier. There's sometimes no need to reinvent the wheel. Other people that are using the same product have probably been there and done it before if you're trying to look at a new script and kind of change from there. Steve?
I could just add to that, what several of our clients have done very successfully is to nominate a particular engineer to be the single point of contact with Kaseya, and to be the ambassador and the specialist on Kaseya inside their organisation, and that's produced many benefits.
Okay. Next question. I'm a small reseller. Why is vision, mission, and values important? Steve?
Okay, well, I think I've already answered that question, really. If you don't have those thoughts and you don't write them down and articulate them, then your team, your customers won't know what you're about. Values are very important. The way that most people build their businesses is through their own personal set of values, and their behaviour in the business environment is absolutely crucial to the success of their business. As those businesses grow, and that can mean taking on 1 or 2 extra people, it's really important that those values are embedded in the minds of the people that work with them. So I think there's benefit for every business. I was a one-man band 4 years ago, and I had a set of vision, mission and values, and I put them on my website. And one of the first prospects I approached was a public sector client, and they saw those on the website and thought that I was a lot larger company than I actually was, because I'd actually put some time into that thinking. So it's the way you're perceived. If you publish those things on your website, you will be perceived to being a substantial and trusted company.
Okay. And last question. How do I know which events to go to attend? Steve's kind of laughing there. I think the interesting thing is that you've kind of got to be able to look at different events and kind of come up with what you want to get out of them. The biggest commodity that we've all got is time, and it's trying to understand, well, if I'm going to take a day out of my business, however big, however small, it's going to have an impact. So I'm going to need to be going to an event, even being on a webinar, and I need to get some takeaway. And my viewpoint is, as long as you're getting 2 or 3 little chunks of or nuggets or bits of gold which you can take away, which is going to stimulate your thinking, which is going to mean that you can go back into your business and kind of action on them, then it's worthwhile. I would suggest that it's worthwhile looking at the industry events, seeing where they are, what they are, who's going to be presenting, what sort of attendees are going to be there, and obviously location is going to come into it. There's always the opportunity to be meeting plenty of vendors and suppliers, but I always found as a reseller myself that actually speaking to and engaging with other peers, people that were in a similar environment and situation to me, that's where I personally got the most amount of value.
I'd also say it's important to go to some events and mix with your prospects and find out what they're saying. In my slide earlier on, I talked about what's in the mind of the customer. Well, go and confirm that for yourself. Go and meet some of these people out there and find out how they feel about the cloud and what their concerns are. And many of the negative things you hear will actually be an opportunity for you to provide a solution to them.
Fantastic. That draws us to the end of this webinar. I hope you've all enjoyed it. As you can see, the details are on there. We will follow up and send something out via Kaseya. Have a great day, and look forward to hopefully speaking to some of you soon. Thank you.
And I wish you all the success with the future of your business. Thank you very much. Goodbye.